Welcome. Good evening, everyone. I'd formally like to welcome everyone, including members of the gallery and press, to tonight's council meeting. My name is Councillor Brett Cunningham, and I have the honour and privilege to be the current Mayor of the Golden Plains Shire Council. Tonight, this council meeting is taking place within the council chambers at the Golden Plains Shire Council Civic Centre in Bannockburn and is open to the public. This meeting is being live streamed in accordance with Council's governance rules, and I welcome any viewers joining us online. As the meeting is open to the public to attend, if the live stream ceases at any time, the meeting will continue. I'll now recite the opening declaration on behalf of all Golden Plains Shire councillors. We, the councillors of the Golden Plains Shire, declare that we will undertake on every occasion to carry out our duties in the best interest of the community, and that our conduct shall maintain the standards of the Code of Good Governance, so that we may faithfully represent and uphold the trust placed in this council by the people of the Golden Plains Shire. Acknowledgement of country. Golden Plains Shire spans the traditional lands of the Wadawurrung and East Tamar people. Council acknowledges them as the traditional owners and custodians, and we pay our respect to both Wadawurrung and East Tamar elders past, present and emerging. Council also extends that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are part of the Golden Plains Shire. We now move on to leave of absence and apologies. Are there any councillors? I have an apology from Les Rowe, who contacted me this afternoon. Are there any other apologies or leave of absence? Thank you. Acknowledge Councillor Les Rowe as an apology. Councillors, confirmation of minutes. Councillors, we have a resolution before us to confirm the minutes and confidential minutes of the scheduled council meeting that was held on the 26th of March 2024 as circulated. Can I please ask for a mover? Councillor Kirby, can I have a seconder? Councillors, can I ask for some direction, please? We need a seconder. Councillor Whitfield, thank you. Councillor Kirby, would you like to speak to the motion?
No.
Thank you very much. I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Interest councillors, are there any declarations of conflict of interest? In the interest of good governance, I declare a general conflict of interest regarding a couple of questions that may come up during public question time, which are in regards to the Dardell precinct during public question time. Thank you. At this stage, I would like to acknowledge the passing of a long-serving councillor of 20 years and past mayor in Jenny Blake. Jenny Blake served as a Golden Plains Shire councillor from being first elected in 1996 until 2016, a period of 20 years. During this period, Jenny served as the first female mayor of Golden Plains Shire from 2008 to 2010 and served another term as mayor from 2012 to 2014. Jenny, along with her husband Kevin, who has served as a councillor with the former Leigh Shire, lived a life of serving and advocating on behalf of residents of all the Shire. And as a mark of acknowledgement and respect, on the day of Jenny's funeral service, flags will fly at half-mast at council offices in recognition of her service and commitment as a former Golden Plains Shire councillor and mayor. On behalf of my fellow councillors, council staff and residents of the Golden Plains Shire, I pay our respects and pass on our condolences to Jenny's husband Kevin and her family and relatives. Thank you.
Mayor, if I may speak.
Certainly.
Regarding, thank you. I have spoken to Kevin Blake, Jenny's husband, and so on behalf of Kevin and his family, the funeral of our past mayor of 2 terms and councillor for 20 years, Jenny Blake, will be held at 2 p.m. Wednesday the 1st of May at Tucker's Funerals, Barrable Hills Chapel in Highton. A private service will precede this. As a friend and colleague, I'd like to celebrate Jenny's achievements at all levels. A founding member of the Golden Plains Rural Women's Group, she was very passionate in helping others and especially for farmers during trying times. Jenny will be remembered for her extensive roles as a councillor, mayor, wife, mother and grandmother, and for every back road that she travelled in our great Shire. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Kirby.
Excuse me, Mayor. Could I speak as
Campbell.
well, please?
Certainly.
Yeah, I remember Jenny Blake as a committed and very dynamic councillor. I remember, as an example of her hands-on approach, when we first moved to Teesdale, my wife inquired about whether there was any public swimming facilities in the area just to take little kids. And the following day, or could have been later that day, it seemed almost instant, Jenny Blake rocked up to our house and and spoke to us directly about the Rokewood Lagoon back then and the Lethbridge Lake. And she was really hands-on, and it's my first contact with local council at all, basically, because where we previously lived in Ascot Vale, you never got that hands-on approach in local government. And one thing we can pride ourselves on at Golden Plains Shire is that we are far more accessible and hands-on to our residents than other councils, I believe. Thank you.
We'll now move on to the citizenship ceremony. Thank you. The citizenship ceremony is being conducted as prescribed in the Australian Citizens Act of 2007 and the Australian Citizenship Regulations of 2007, under the authority of the Minister for Immigration, Citizenship and Multicultural Affairs. Today we welcome 11 candidates and I congratulate them on their decision to become Australian citizens. Citizenship is a common bond which unites all Australians, whether they are Australia's traditional inhabitants, first-generation migrants, or the descendants of early settlers. Our rich heritage stems from the contributions made by all of our citizens. As a nation, Australia has a commitment to various values and institutions, including parliamentary democracy, equality for all citizens before the law, freedom of speech and religion, and the opportunity for all. Australian citizenship also brings responsibility and duty to obey our laws, to participate in the electoral process by voting, and to serve on a jury of your peers if called to do so. Candidates, Australia, and in particular the community of the Golden Plains Shire, takes great pride in your decision tonight to choose to become part of this great nation. I would now like to invite Eric Braslis, CEO of Golden Plains Shire, to read a message from the Honourable Andrew Giles, MP, Minister for Immigration, Citizenship and Multicultural Affairs. Thank you.
On behalf of the Minister, thank you for deciding to become an Australian citizen. Today you join a nation that is one of the world's most successful multicultural societies, with around half of all Australians either born overseas or with at least one parent born overseas. In Australia, everyone can be proud of who they are, and everyone should be respected, valued, and feel a sense of belonging. We are privileged to share this beautiful country with the world's oldest continuing culture. This is a fundamental part of who we are. For more than 60,000 years, First Nations people have cared for country. Appreciating and understanding this truth is a vital part of what it means to be Australian. Australians are united by our shared commitment to democracy and the rule of law, and to freedom of speech, religion, and association. Our diversity is our greatest strength, and we prosper by embracing this. We believe in a society in which everyone is equal, regardless of their gender, faith, sexual orientation, age, ability, race, nationality, or ethnic origin. Ours is the land of the fair go, in which respect and compassion underpins our care for each other and our willingness to reach out to those around us in times of need. By becoming an Australian citizen, you make a commitment to these values and to contributing to our evolving Australian story. On behalf of the Australian Government, heartfelt congratulations on becoming an Australian citizen tonight.
Thank you, CEOs Breslis, for providing that message of support to our candidates here today. Australian citizenship represents full and formal membership of the community of the Commonwealth of Australia, and Australian citizenship is a common bond involving reciprocal rights, obligations, uniting all Australians while respecting their diversity. Persons on whom Australian citizenships are conferred enjoy these rights and undertake to accept these obligations by pledging loyalty to Australia and its people, by sharing the democratic beliefs, by respecting their rights and liberties, and by upholding and obeying the laws of Australia. I would now like to invite Devinder Kumar to come forward and pledge affirmation to Australia. If you would please repeat after me. From this time forward under God, I pledge my loyalty to Australia and its people, whose democratic beliefs I share, whose rights and liberties I respect, and whose laws I will uphold and obey. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll do the official photos, and at the end we'll have 5 or 10 minutes where families and friends can come up and take some photos with the candidates and citizens tonight. I would now like to invite Jenny Tran to come forward and pledge her affirmation to Australia. From this time forward, I pledge my loyalty to Australia and its people, whose democratic beliefs I share, whose rights and liberties I respect, and whose laws I will uphold and obey. I would now like to invite Keith, Olivia and Bradley Stevenson to come forward and pledge affirmation to Australia. I'd also like to acknowledge Caleb and Karazen Stevenson, who were not able to attend this evening as they were away on a leadership program and school camp. If you'd like to repeat. Hello. If you'd like to repeat after me. From this time forward under God, I pledge my loyalty to Australia and its people, whose democratic beliefs I share, whose rights and liberties I respect, and whose laws I will uphold and obey. I shall do that. I'd now like to invite Ban Ali Sig and Maitham Hussain Youssef and Noor Mathloom to come forward and pledge your affirmation to Australia. Put the mic in front, yep. So if you'd like to repeat after me. From this time forward under God, I pledge my loyalty to Australia and its people, whose democratic beliefs I share, whose rights and liberties I respect, and whose laws I will uphold and obey. I would now like to invite everyone in the gallery who wishes to publicly affirm their commitment to Australia and its people to stand and join repeating the affirmation. If you'd like to repeat after me. As an Australian citizen, I affirm my loyalty to Australia and its people, whose democratic beliefs I share, whose rights and liberties I respect, and whose laws I uphold and obey. I'll now ask everyone to please remain standing for the Australian National Anthem. Thank you, may now be seated. You didn't play everyone's second verse, everyone's favourite. I welcome candidates, fellow Australian citizens. I welcome you to Australia and I congratulate you on your decision to become an Australian citizen. You have made a pledge of commitment to Australia and its people and have been provided with a certificate to mark this occasion. This act of law is now completed, and on behalf of all Australians, I congratulate and hope you have a happy and successful future as citizens of Australia. You are more than welcome to remain for the remainder of the council meeting. Usually people don't. We won't be offended. If you choose to stay, that'd be nice, but you don't have to. What we will do, though, is families and friends, if you'd like to come up for the next 5 to 10 minutes to take some family photographs in front of the flags, that'd be much appreciated. Once again, congratulations to everyone, and thank you for coming tonight. Thank you.
Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. That's sensible for one of us.
Yeah, it is.
I can take it.
No, it's okay.
Don't take it seriously.
Don't take your question seriously? Don't take your question seriously or don't take the case seriously?
Yeah. Thank you. Councillors, public question time. Public question time runs for 30 minutes prior to the consideration of the formal agenda by Council. We consider questions received with notice from the public. I'll call each person who has submitted a question forward. Please come up to the microphone and ask your question as it was submitted. I note that question time is not an opportunity to make general statements or enter into debate with Council or Council officers. We have 4 questions of notice, 4 questions. Our first submission is from Elizabeth Gillespie, and I understand that Elizabeth has sent an apology in. She's emailed the councillors and CEO's PA that she's an apology, and she's asked that her response is forwarded to her via email. We also have questions that have been submitted by Josh Trow. Is Josh here at all tonight? No. Once again, Josh's questions will be answered via a written response. Councillors, I'll now move on to the agenda items. Agenda item 8.1, which is delegates' reports and informal meetings of councillors' records. I refer councillors to page 6 of the agenda for this report. The recommendation is Council receives and notes delegates' report from informal meetings of councillors for the past month. Are there any questions? Can I please ask for a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Whitfield. I ask for a seconder, please. Councillor Gamble. Thank you. Councillor Whitfield, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
I will just briefly, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I did a few things this month, but there's one in particular I'd like to talk about, and that was I got along to the Inverleigh Good Friday appeal. A great turnout of supporters to that. A real bounce in numbers from the COVID years, and first year back after COVID was bad weather last year, so we had some good weather and saw people turn out in droves. There were more stalls than ever, music, a petting zoo, rides for the kids, a classic car show, and of course lots of money was raised for the Royal Children's Hospital. Just to give an indication of how successful it was, Inverleigh raised through that event $42,000 in the tally, and towns and populations 2 and 3 times the size of Inverleigh didn't quite get, to that kind of number. So a fantastic effort from the organisers that run that event annually, and of course that money will go to great use at the Children's Hospital for sick kids. So well done to those organisers. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Councillor Gamble, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I attended last Saturday with yourself. I attended the Smythesdale Country Market. Weather was fantastic, and it was great to see the town thriving with lots of the businesses busy and the market itself really busy. A big part of it, a central part of last Saturday, was launching of the mural, commissioned by the Wodie Yallock Historical Society, I believe, and with a grant, community grant from the council of $5,000 and matched by the Berrybank Wind Farm. The artist was John Lamb. He was chosen because of his demonstrated skills in portraits, as well as obvious ability with murals. The mural celebrates a notable past local residents, including a once local who was second in command at the Eureka Rebellion. So quite significant there. They have great pride in the history and the identity of the towns, particularly along that Glenelg highway stretch of the north part of our shire. Also there was a new land care group, the Wodie Yallock Land Care Group, and they're working along the river there with support there also by the main Ballarat Land Care Network Group, the Lee Land Care. I also noticed the doctors and pharmacy was very busy, or the pharmacy was, but just having the doctors there and the is a really good sort of thing to have that's a positive benefit in that area that the council's contributed in recent times. It's an example of the positive actions of CEO Eric Brazlis, who had a critical driving significant role in reinstating that GP practice, which in turn helped keep the pharmacy. It's also part of a strategic precinct development and the integrity which will last into the future, its long-term benefits, securing that disused church site on the corner there. Also, the Northern Streetscapes project, the funding is in the bank. I was asked about it on the weekend. The funding is in the bank, and it's ready for tendering out with final design consultation back to the community later this year. And so that's all ready to roll, which is great news. On the week before, I was at the Bannockburn Market, and the day began with the park run. I saw Councillor Sharkey there, and we both agree it's a great community-run event. And also I noticed the Friends of Bannockburn Bush with their work there. I'll just say that I went with my regular little coffee ride later. I cracked my rib, and unfortunately that bruising got worse by the time I got home, and I was regrettably forced to miss the Arts Trail, a special and flagship event of our community, so sorry about that.
Thank you, Councillor Gamble. Any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Sharkey, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, just a couple of notes there, one of which myself and Gavin were out running there the other week, so great to see the community coming together for that event. And also the I was fortunate enough after that to not crack any ribs and got to get round to the Arts Trail, so it was really good, but unfortunately I only got to do half the amount of events that I did because the volume of artwork, particularly in Bannockburn, was a standout. It's probably the best representation of artwork. And one of the difficulties with the art show in previous years has been your investment on time and return of seeing actual artwork. So you can go a long way out of your way to see some fantastic artwork, but small in numbers. But at Bannockburn there, it was that was by far the best venue that they've had in all the years that I've been there. So it was unfortunately spent a lot longer at that one than I'd thought, but fantastic artwork and really well done by the group there, and going from strength to strength, and probably tailing on Councillor Whitfield's comments there. Some of these community events you're starting to sort of see really bounce back after the impact that COVID's had on them. So largely that comes off the back of many people volunteering. So good to see those couple of events. Also attended the Geelong Libraries meeting this month, which the public the budget has just been released, and in that budget it does represent our contribution, which we'll speak to tonight. Our budget and their budget aren't lining up entirely, but their budget, also like our budget, is reflecting the challenges and the lack of money being filtered through by the state government, and the challenges that's imposing on organisations like Geelong Libraries, who try effortlessly to deliver so many services. And it's not just, as we know, just books. There's so many things that it delivers to the community, and has such a fantastic role to play in our communities. But unfortunately the funding from the state government on a per head capita is just getting less and less each year. So the funding's less and less, but the growth, and particularly cities and like Geelong that are just exploding with growth, the lack of funding there is quite unfortunate, but I suspect that's the challenge of many budgets that are being released across the state at the moment, unfortunately. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Kirby, thank you.
Yes, I'd just like to say that First of all, we did go for a trip around Linton with the with the Progress Association. We went and had a look quite a few different areas around the town, and we were actually commended on the good work that council's doing, especially in cleaning up the gutters, the streetscape work, and the work at Edinburgh. The gardens. And so I'd just like to thank the committee for inviting the councillors around so that we could have a look and see how progress is going in Linton. The other one I'd like to mention is that I attended the opening of the Golden Plains Arts Trail. Once again, a great launch was held, and it was held at the Darrell Hall. So it was a nice, easy place for everyone from around the whole Golden Plains to be able to go to. Our mayor opened it, so thank you, Mr. Mayor, for opening that. I'm sure you'll talk about it, and well done to the committee and to Glenys for putting on such a beautiful supper. So
Lovely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other councillors? If not, just a few notes from myself. It was a very busy month this month, which has kept me busy. A couple of things. I attended the sod turning at the Inverleigh Active Youth Space, which was also attended by Federal Minister Libby Coker and State MP Michaela Settle. It's going to be a great community facility project of well over $2 million. It's going to, I think, also become a bit of a tourist destination when it's finished. So it's not only just a great community facility, but also I think will bring some outside people into the area, which will then hopefully spend some money in Inverleigh. Yes, along with Councillor Kirby, I did attend the opening of the GP Arts Trail, which was held at the Darrell. It was a very successful weekend. Like Councillor Sharkey, I attended many of the venues and viewed the great works and of the many talented residents that we have in our shire. It's pretty stunning. As Councillor Kirby said, it did start many, many years ago, and it's grown into something now which has become a fully fledged weekend, an event which is on people's calendars each year. I also was invited to attend and chair the AGM of the Shelford Rec Reserve, and which went very well. Once again, the committee there are doing a great job. They've also acknowledged the support and work that they have from council and council officers. Also was invited along to the Meredith Historical Society, which was really nice. Once again, they acknowledged the work of council officers in the support that they've given them for the facility and also to helping them with grants. And like other of my fellow councillors, on Thursday I'll be attending many of the Anzac services throughout the Shire. Councillor Whitfield, would you like to close?
Nothing further to add.
Thank you. I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. We now move on to item 8.2. Councillors, I refer councillors to page 8 of the agenda for this report, the recommendation. Councillors, are there any questions to the Director? If not, can I please ask for a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Kirby. I please ask for a seconder to the motion, please. Councillor Whitfield. Councillor Kirby, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
The 2024-25 draft budget is a very conscientious and thought-out one as we all go through trying times. The rate cap is set at 2.75%, even though our challenges are met with rising costs. Our community satisfaction survey tells us that roads are still our #1 priority, and in the background the Director and staff have been working extremely well and tirelessly in this area to maintain high standards for our ratepayers. This has been seen with the different types of gravel that are now being put on the roads, so we know that the surface is lasting and we're not having to go back and repeat ourselves. Savings have also been identified in areas such as maintenance programs, materials and contracts. The deferral of employees along with consultants, marketing and corporate memberships are part of this deal. However, extra revenue has been adjusted regarding user fees and charges, and some minor service level adjustments regarding library hours and splash park hours. Now, these are some of the things we've had to do as councillors to make sure that, you know, the budget is in good stead for years to come. With the total operating revenue of $57.6 million, we are being very prudent in our delivery of services to the community as our rates are surpassing the CPI. These factors include the cost of utilities, insurance and materials. The CPI forecast of 3.4% and the rate cap set at only 2.75%, we have a shortfall of 0.65%, which still equates to nearly $684,000. This is less in our budget We've been fortunate enough to secure land sales and the income derived from the wind farms. Going forward, I would urge all residents to read over the draft budget and make submissions on any proposed cuts that might be of vital importance or significance to you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Kirby. Councillor Whitfield, would you like to speak to the motion, please? Thank you very much. Are there any other councillors who may wish to speak to the motion? Any councillors? Councillor Gamble, thank you.
I take this opportunity to thank the many officers across the organisation for their diligent work in difficult circumstances imposed on them. There's one of the attachments, I've forgotten which one, outlines the particular circumstances that we faced this year with putting our budget together. Not all of them in our control, of course. It needs to be recognised this budget reflects the councillor group majority desire or position, not unanimous, but reflects the council group majority desire. I believe it's to achieve a surplus budget in a very challenging fiscal environment. For this year, though, I note the longer term forecast, 2 years on, is one of healthy surpluses into the future. Given this, and the many one-off and exceptional circumstances that have led to the current financial pressures, I think it is more than reasonable to accept a budget deficit this year. Should we be scared of a temporary deficit? Budget surpluses can be something of a fetish and not in the interest of the organisation. There are those who may be proud of achieving this minimal surplus of $32,000 in the context of an operating budget of I think it's approximately $65 million. Well, I believe the significant cuts proposed in this draft budget is not in the interest of the organisation or the community. I refer interested people to the summary of cuts or savings, or the summary of cuts or, quote, savings, measures and service level reductions. It's a good summary there on page 11 of the agenda. The impacts of these cuts will also be more subtle but significant. An example from just this morning, I met at a river crossing with 2 officers and a representative from a local landcare group concerning a long-time request for council support and partnership with the landcare group to maintain and preserve the group's past endeavours in making this increasingly popular picnic and public open space better. Well, now, our responsibility as a council is to have strategic justification for spending ratepayers' money. A strategy or plan has to be evidence-based with expert opinion, guidance, community engagement, and keeping with our council plan identified priorities. The open space strategy work has been cut from this budget. Without strategic justification, we're at a massive disadvantage to get funding from other bodies, such as the Corangamite Catchment Management Authority, in this particular instance. And we don't have resident input as to what places are valued most, etc. Likewise, our environment strategy is not in a good place. We only have one officer effectively looking after our most precious and special natural places that the council has charge over across the whole Shire, one officer. It could be argued we are failing our strategic objectives with this budget, particularly number 3 on sustainability, which is on page 12. And more broadly, future generations, failing them, at least for this year with this budget, but time waits for no one, and particularly with environment and climate breakdown, when time is of the essence. A council budget is not like a household budget. I agree we shouldn't be in an expansionary mode, so to speak, but I think a deficit is sufficient to maintain services and programs, develop necessary strategies, employing people sufficient for the organisation's needs and requirements. Knowing we have a stronger long-term financial outlook for future years, running a deficit this year is justified and the better thing to do. We will, however, welcome and be guided by submissions from residents. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Campbell. Any other councillors wishing to speak for the motion? Councillors wishing to speak against the motion? Councillor Sharkey.
Not speaking against, but appreciating it's going out for community consultation. While I genuinely appreciate the efforts made to craft this budget, I also must voice my concerns about its direction. While we often seek public feedback on our budget, it is essential to understand that this document reflects the insights and the consensus of many councillors, and we've dedicated 6 or 7 months to crafting this budget, delving into its intricacies. While it may seem a complex document to many, every decision has been carefully considered. And it's worth noting that while this budget represents, as Councillor Gamber states, the majority, it doesn't capture the views of all councillors. I understand many councils across Victoria, including some of our neighbours, will post a deficit budget this year, and transparency is key. I personally would have preferred a transparent deficit to reflect our financial journey. Two significant concerns I have within the budget, and appreciating time restraints of speaking here, and the first is the reduction in staff numbers of 1.8. We're a high growth council, and that should be reflected in growth in terms of staff. Particularly the proposal not to fund the role of the Director of Community Planning and Growth. This role is fundamental to our organisation and growing community. While the reduction would save approximately $300,000, I personally struggle to see how a professional organisation like Golden Plains Shire can operate without such a pivotal role. To put it in simple terms, it's like removing Patrick Dangerfield from the Geelong Football Club to save money. Yes, there are savings, but the ramifications on team performance, morale and results are significant. Secondly, the $20,000 reduction in our membership to the Geelong Regional Libraries concerns me. We all know the invaluable services that our libraries provide for our communities. We are told this cut could mean closing the Bannockburn Library on Friday afternoons 4 hours earlier, if implemented at the start of the financial year. Given that we won't be implementing this for another 6 months and awaiting a service review, this could mean having to double that to justify this for the whole of Fridays. We don't know the ramifications of that. The executive and mayoral summaries in the budget need to be more transparent about these service cuts. We can't claim to maintain and improve services while reducing overarching operational spending by 11%. Let's be upfront and honest with our community about the changes they should expect. Over the past couple of years, some decisions have lacked foresight and appreciation for the challenges ahead. I advocated for adjusting our expectations of land sales in last year's budget, and this foresight proved accurate given the slowing market. Investing over around $500,000 in strategically unidentified church has quickly become a questionable decision, particularly given our current budget constraints and the difficulties in allocating sufficient funds for essential services. I do appreciate this decision. This budget is going out for public consultation. Having said that, I would find it challenging to support this budget in its entirety if seeking adoption tonight. We must look beyond short-term savings and consider the long-term impacts on our community and services. Thank you.
Any other councillors wishing to speak against the motion? Councillor Whitfield, you reserve the right to speak.
Yeah, my notes are quite similar to Councillor Kirby's, and a lot of consideration for this budget has taken place by both the councillor group and the staff. As Councillor Sharkey said, for like more than 6 months we've been working towards this. Circumstances that are outlined in the draft budget have caused the need for some consolidation and tightening of the belt. I personally think it's a good financial managed approach to this budget to aim to live within our means. There were other options such as borrowing put before us, and the consensus as we worked on that budget, the council has decided to reduce or defer some works so as to not incur extra debt. There is still an option to include other items in this draft budget subject to the submissions we receive and whatever councillors might put up at the time of the adoption. Posting a deficit is an option. Looking into things such as that director role, the advice we get in the future may be different to what we've had to this point, but I would wait on that advice before changing the current draft budget. I think I'm actually predicting a positive response from ratepayers who look over this draft budget, and I think they'll appreciate the approach we have taken. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kirby, would you like to close, please?
Thank you to all the councillors for offering your views, and I think it's imperative that this is what our ratepayers hear. We know that we all have different ideas of what we want to see come out of the budget. We'd all love to spend millions of dollars, but we know that that is not the case. We'd love to see so many areas going forward because we know we are a growing shire, but at the same time we have to show restraint when it is needed. Hopefully in the future, as Councillor Gamble said, we are going to see growth in the shire. We're going to see extra income coming our way, so that is going to open the door for some new initiatives, and hopefully the ones that might come off the table with the draft budget will be put back in. So this will go out to public exhibition to Monday the 20th of May, so I just encourage all ratepayers to really go over this, have a good look at it, because there is some different items in there that could affect you, and we'd love to hear what your responses are. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kirby. I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Councillors, will now move to item 8.3. On page 16 of the agenda, it's a combined planning scheme amendment, planning permit for land in Inverleigh. Councillors, I also refer you to the revised officer's recommendation that has been circulated during the week and also tonight. Pink slip on your table, which has got the revised notes there. Councillors, are there any questions to the Acting Director of Community Planning and Growth?
Yep.
Councillor Gamble, thank you.
Could I please ask about the local planning policy framework? It's on page 29. Down the bottom there of page 29, as part of that policy framework for Inverleigh, it has to create a path. This is an ideal situation, of course, but to create a path network that facilitates walking and cycling to the town centre, primary school, recreation reserve, open space, and also the sentence under the other recommendation underneath it that we should be integrating pedestrian and cycle links in development areas to improve connectivity to the town centre and key destinations. I was just wondering how you see that being addressed in this planning application and proposal, given it's so far from the actual town centre itself.
Thank you, through you, Mr Mayor. So as part of the overall Inverleigh Framework Plan, which sets out the township boundary, a body of work has been undertaken which sets out the development infrastructure requirements to support the township as a result of additional residential development. A number of development contribution items have been identified, of which this amendment and future planning scheme amendments will need to contribute to via Section 173 agreement. These items include the development of shared paths within the township, road and intersection upgrades and upgrades to existing recreation reserves, and purchase of additional open space to accommodate the growing township. So in terms of the shared paths in relation to this development, there'll be requirements through the planning permit conditions, and then it'll be a staged approach as other areas within Inverleigh come online and are developed through a planning scheme amendment, and each application is proportioned to each of those infrastructure items.
Councillors, any other questions to the Director? If not, can I please ask for a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Whitfield, thank you. I ask for a seconder, please. Councillor Kirby, thank you very much. Councillor Whitfield, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Yes, I'm happy to move the recommendation as the motion. This development is rare in that the rezoning and planning permit are going through the system consecutively. What that does is allow information such as referral authority input and permit conditions to be confirmed upfront and early. And that's a refreshing approach, because under the normal circumstances, all those considerations come after, and it's difficult to picture what they might entail when changing a zone. The permit application is for 56 low-density residential zone lots. The planning scheme amendment is to rezone the location from farm zone to low-density residential zone. Council officers have prepared valuable conditions to this permit application and amendment, and did so also consulting with councillors in a briefing over this matter. Some of the conditions imposed, that there are a lot, so I won't go through them all, but things like an upgrade to the intersection of the Hamilton Highway and Terrier Road, a bridle path for horses, which is reflective of the Inverleigh framework plan. Prior to certification of a plan, a restriction must be added to the plan of subdivision stating that effluent must be treated to a secondary standard on all lots less than 8,000 square metres. There will be a construction environment management plan, particularly around any native vegetation and protections. There are numerous conditions ensuring buildings are outside of the flood overlay, and there are buffer distances imposed on the perimeter lots for mitigation against bushfire. There are also advantages in this development, if this development is approved, as infrastructure that is installed by it will be able to be tapped into by neighbouring properties, an example being access to potable water, which they don't currently have. And just going through this motion, just to be clear, it's to support the request for an amendment to the planning scheme, and to request the Minister to authorise Council to prepare and exhibit the amendment and the planning permit. Where there are submissions to the permit and or amendment, the Planning Authority requests a panel to consider those submissions, and the Planning Authority then considers the panel's report before deciding whether to recommend a permit be granted or not. This development is inside the existing growth boundary of Inverleigh and has been considered for alignment with the municipal planning strategy, the planning policy framework and the Inverleigh framework plan. Hopefully submissions that are received are able to enhance the project further. Thanks, Mr Mayor. Happy to support the motion.
Councillor Kirby.
Thank you, Councillor Whitfield. That was a great overview of what is happening in this area. I'd also like to add that when we do look at some of these areas for growth, we do want to maintain the heritage characteristics and natural qualities of the Inverleigh area, because this is what makes Inverleigh attractive to Inverleigh and its visitors. Council will also encourage the use and development that enhances the town centre as a role for a community meeting place and focus on that as well. So these are the attributes that we look at when we're doing the changing the planning scheme, especially when it's from a farm zone, but it is within the town boundaries. So this will add extra housing to Inverleigh, and I believe that it is something to make Inverleigh go forward and become a prosperous town for the future.
Very much.
So I look forward to it. Thank you.
Councillor Kirby. Any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Getson.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. I might just add to that too, that the Australian Rail Track Association that are going to provide a platform at Inverleigh for the Great Southern Train that stops at Inverleigh and takes buses away for tours. So that's a good plus. And if Inverleigh ever gets a train service from Inverleigh to Geelong, well, they're already on the way. Thank you.
Very much. Any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? Any councillors? Councillor Gamble, thank you.
Yeah, this report, including the proposed planning scheme amendment and proposed subdivision on the far west side of the Inverleigh structure plan, township boundary, as Councillor Whitfield mentioned, was well discussed at the briefing meeting, and the documents and attachments with it are of a really good quality. I did have some concerns about this proposal from the outset, mainly relating to the distance from this development, significant development with for considerable years. There won't be much around it. So I don't think that's ideal, and there's potential for community fragmentation, encourages car dependency, and it's not a sequential natural growth out from the township centre. And ideally you'd want to have more planned progressive growth. My other concern was the proximity to the flood zone and leaching of nutrients into the Barwon, because we've got 56 new effluent disposal systems having to function in that land. Well, addressing my concerns on those concerns on the briefing day, I accept that this proposal will see the infrastructure laid out so that the more reluctant, it seems, infill development will be allowed to happen, and hopefully it will kickstart that sort of progressive development, so there's a continuity of houses in that area. The planning documents also, the report outlines the need for this housing over the future housing for future housing requirements. So that infrastructure is an important factor, is to be a catalyst for getting those utilities out from the Inverleigh *CBD. Anyway, the Cemetery Road, part of this will be developed, will be resealed and made into a much better road, just the part around the development, but it will take time to see the rest of it reach that standard, because at the moment it's quite a bouncy sort of narrow stretch of bitumen. So the application also has a flood impact assessment, and it passed for land capability. So I accept that it is acceptable to have those houses in that area as far as that goes. And I note the CCMA, Corangamite Catchment Management Authority, has also modified the original plan and confined it to a smaller area on that basis. There's also of interest is there's a salinity management overlay where underground components will have to be specced up, and for future gardens in that area they will have to consider the saline characteristics in the area. So yeah, on that basis I accept it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor, any other councillors wishing to speak to the motion? If not, I'll ask Councillor Whitfield to close.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'm really pleased that Councillor Gamble's concerns were allayed through the briefing and perhaps in following up in the report. I'll just add some extra things that are going on with this development. So consideration of services, waste pickup through garbage trucks, etc., landscaping, drainage has all been considered in the design of the road reserves. There's even protection of vegetation occurring in the design of one of the roads which goes around a native vegetation area. It has a curve in the road specifically to protect that native vegetation. Councillor Gamble mentioned septic systems. Individual lots will have land capability assessments done as part of the septic permit process. And they are specifically and individually designed for each lot to retain wastewater within each allotment's boundary. So there should be no fears about leaching occurring. And you're absolutely right, this development, while about 1 or 2 kilometres out of the township, will be a catalyst for further potential subdivision by people tapping into that infrastructure that is put in place. Yeah, happy to support this motion. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Whitfield. Councillors, I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Certainly. All those in favour? Councillor Whitfield, Gamble, Cunningham, Kirby, Getsom, Sharkey. Thank you. Councillors, we now move on to agenda item 8.4. I refer councillors to page 43 of the agenda. Take the report as read. Councillors, are there any questions to the Director of Infrastructure and Environment? If not, may I please ask for a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Whitfield. Thank you.
Pointing over there.
Oh, you're pointing away, sorry. Can I ask for a mover for this recommendation?
In Councillor Kirby's ballpark, this one.
Actually, I thought it'd be very appropriate for a male to do this one, but I'm very happy to move it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kirby. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Gamble, thank you very much. Councillor Kirby, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Thank you. The Fair Access Policy Roadmap is an Australia First policy that aims to give women and girls better and fairer access to community sports infrastructure. It is being developed and led by the Office for Women in Sport and Recreation in partnership with Vic Health and Sport and Recreation Victoria as part of the Change Our Game initiative to level the playing field for girls and women in sport and active recreation. So this policy requires that all local governments have this in place as for a gender equitable access and use policy for community sporting facilities by the 1st of July 2024 to remain eligible for state government community sports infrastructure funding. The Fair Access Policy is about creating inclusive environments, whether male or female, prioritising the participation of women and girls, ensuring equitable access to facilities, equal representation in leadership and governance roles, encourage and support user groups to adopt and implement gender equality, and prioritising user groups committed to equality. So I put this out there that it's not just for females but for women as well, and I think this is a fair and a fair policy that's going to help women and young girls to be able to achieve more than what they can just do on the sports field. So whether they want to have a role in governance or running a club or running a sports centre, this is going to be part and parcel of them achieving something personally for them that they would like to see in their own lives. And this is just making sure that we're part of it as a council, and we're putting in place all the procedures for this to happen, and for sports clubs to be accountable for making sure this happens. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Kirby. Councillor Gamble, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Yeah, thank you, Matt. Thank you, Councillor Kirby. Yeah, basically this is a draft policy. It's a major part. It's come with considerable engagement process already. There's a brochure too, but I forgot to get one before I started the meeting here. And this is a mandated policy that's required by state government from all local councils, as Councillor Kirby mentioned. I support it. I support gender equity and the right of opportunity and the participation for all people in all of our sporting facilities. I think that's basically a basic human right, and we should have those facilities to support that. So I just commend the officers and the work that's been done in the background, and there's been a lot of liaising that's gone on with many sporting groups and people and bodies, and I noticed there's been recent workshops at both ends of the Shire, if I got the dates right there in April, and now that it's out for exhibition, I think it will be a policy that's best assessed by the users on the ground, so to speak, as well. So I commend the policy. Thank you.
Very much, Councillor Campbell. Are there any other councillors who may wish to speak to the motion? Speak against the motion? If not, I will ask Councillor Kirby to close.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is going to be made available to the community from the 25th of April to the 23rd of May. So following the period of public exhibition and feedback, it is proposed to come back to council in the June meeting. So I look forward to hearing from any members of the community or community groups out there, and what partnerships they might like to come forward in providing this policy, or they might have different ideas as well. So it'd be really good to hear from the sporting groups out there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Kirby. I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. We now move on to agenda item 8.5, public interest disclosure policy. I refer councillors to page 48 of the agenda for this report, which I'll take is read. Are there any questions to the CEO, Eric Breslis, regarding this agenda item? If not, I please ask for a mover of the recommendation. Councillor Whitfield. May I please ask for a seconder? Councillor Kirby. Councillor Whitfield, would you like to speak to the recommendation, please?
Just briefly, thanks, Mr. Mayor. This policy is up for review. The updates include removal of outdated legislation, some consolidation of the wording to aid reading, the point of contact details have been updated. The policy encourages people to make disclosures on improper conduct by public bodies, officers and councillors, and it also includes the prohibition of reprisal. Happy to adopt the updated policy. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Kirby, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
I'm happy to go forward as to update the policy. Thank you.
Any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Campbell, thank you.
Yeah, just to further that this is important policy. It ensures the integrity of our, this kind of thing ensures the integrity of our, not just local government, but people's rights to draw attention to malpractice and fraud, things like that. So, yeah, I thank the officers for the update on these essentially whistleblower protocols. Thank you.
Any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? Any councillors wish to speak against the motion? If not, I'll ask Councillor Whitfield to close. Councillors, motion to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. We now move on to agenda item 8.6, Council expenses and meeting attendance Q3. I refer councillors to page 51 of the agenda for this report. The recommendation is read. Are there any questions to the Director of Corporate Services regarding this report recommendation? If not, can I please ask for a mover for this recommendation? Councillor Sharkey?
Yeah, happy to move.
Thank you, Councillor Sharkey. Can I please ask for a seconder for the... A seconder, please. Councillor Whitfield, thank you. Councillor Sharkey, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Thank you there. The recommendation is that Council note the contents of the council expenses and attendance report for the Q3. So everything there is all in line with expectations and an open and transparent document for the public to siphon through there and see that we're maintaining, and also good for ourselves to keep an eye on things there and make sure that we're all within the confines of a budget. So happy to note that.
Thank you very much. Councillor Whitfield, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Nothing to add, thanks.
Thank you very much. Any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? Any councillors to speak against the motion? If not, I'll ask Councillor Sharkey to close.
Happy to put.
Very much. I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. We now move on to agenda item 8.7. I'm sorry. Yep. Sorry, councillors. We now move on to agenda item 10.1, which are the petitions. The first one is the Over 50 Lifestyle Village. I refer councillors to page 55 of the agenda for this report, and the recommendation is included. Are there any questions regarding this report to the Director of Corporate Services? If not, can I please ask for a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Kirby, thank you. Can I please ask for a seconder? Councillor Gamble. Councillor Kirby, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Yes, I'm very happy to accept this. So I think this was brought to us at the Bannockburn Farmers Market, and we had some residents who were concerned that where their life was going in their later years, and that there was no lifestyle village around in this part of the area outside of Geelong. So at the time they were very passionate about it, and as we can see, they have now gone out and got a petition, and they would like to see us move forward. And you know, our CEO, which he has already done, has contacted some of these lifestyle villages to see if they'd be interested in building one in our shire. And I just think that now that this petition has come forward, it might just give us a little bit more of a boost to go forward and see if we can help these residents for their later years, because not everyone wants to go into a nursing home, but a retirement village as such. So thank you.
Good. Councillor Gamble, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Mayor and Councillor Kirby. I'll just draw attention. In the past, I introduced a notice of motion to get a report and community engagement around this kind of issue, with not specifically, but about the needs of people in the community to have alternative and diversity in their potential choices of housing. And this petition recognises it's very difficult for people that are downsizing, getting older and downsizing, it's not really right that they've got to give up their life and their town lifestyle and move into Geelong just to seek suitable accommodation. I think I note other shires have had very extensive planning and engagement consultations with their community around what sort of housing the shire should be planning for, and looking at these sort of options such as presented in this petition. So I thank the community members to show the initiative and in bringing this forward. Obviously it's got quite a bit of support and it's a pretty obvious practical proposition to addressing a real problem for certain sector in our community. So I commend this motion, this petition, please.
Councillor Gamble. Any other councillors wishing to speak to the motion? Any councillors wishing to speak against the motion? If not, Councillor Kirby, I'll ask you to close.
I'd just like to thank the community for bringing this petition forward. I think it's something that that we all value, and hopefully the CEO will be able to come back with some positive outcomes in the future regarding their lifestyle choice. Thank you.
Very much. Kirby. I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. We move on to item 10.2. In regards to a petition, Linton Community Hub, I refer councillors to page 58 of the agenda for this report. Take it as read. Councillors, are there any questions to the Director of Corporate Services regarding this report? If not, can I please ask for a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Sharkey, thank you. May I ask for a seconder for the motion? Councillor. Thank you. Councillor Sharkey, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Thanks very much. Yeah, again, another petition, and again the same recommendations coming from us, and that's considering the petitions and putting some solutions forward. So, I think with this petition in particular, I think we've really got to appreciate where the Linton Community Hub has come from in the last couple of years, and to where it is going at the moment. So. I do know that we have been challenged with the community hub over the last few years, and I do appreciate the extensive work that the CEO, Mr. Eric Braslis, has done with the community down there, trying to really activate this. And you know, I think over the last few years we've tried really hard to activate a few of these spaces, and have been the biggest challenge that's been presented to us was COVID. So. Speaking to some of the people in the community there, that they're starting to come together, they're starting to get some really good leadership there and come together in a really strategic manner. So I suspect there's going to be some fantastic outcomes for that community in the next few years. So it's good to see them rallying together, and happy to receive this petition, and look forward to the consideration and the responses going forward.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sharkey. Councillor Getson, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just like to support Councillor Sharkey in his
Press
comments.
into the microphone. You probably need to press the button because it hasn't been used for a while.
Yeah, just like to support Councillor Sharkey in his remarks. The Linton Hub is actually thriving at the minute. It's there's something on every day pretty much now, and being well attended by probably nearly about 10 different groups now. So childcare, whatever, is happening there, kindergarten type thing, but only privately run. So it's going really well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Getson. Are there any other councillors wishing to speak to the motion? Councillor Kirby, thank you.
Yes, this is. It's great that the communities come on board with this petition, because they're just ensuring what they want us to. They want to make sure that this is part of their community going forward. When we did have a meeting about this probably 12 months ago, and we put the challenge out there that we know, as Councillor Sharkey said, we've had COVID, but now they've actually been able to get out there, get some different groups going, get the Linton Shire Hall activated. And we can see this, and this is what we were saying to them. Make sure you can activate the facility, have income coming in, make sure you can cover the costs of running the building, doing maintenance, and it will all come together, I'm sure of it. So I think that good on them for the challenge coming forward, putting this out there for us to just to be aware that they are working really hard to maintain this facility, and it is usable by all members of the community and the district, because as we've seen, there were so many people who signed the petition. It's 278 people, so that's a lot for the area of Linton and surrounds. So
Really
well
is.
done, Linton.
Well done. Councillor Saki, would you like to close, please?
Nothing further to add.
Sorry, Councillor Gamble. My apologies. You wish to speak to the motion. Sorry, Councillor Sharkey. Councillor Gamble, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, just endorsing Councillor Kirby's sentiments and points there. It is very important to the community. And it isn't just Linton, it's also further south, Manada Bar and further south. They get up there as well to use it as their point of contact with groups like craft groups, and so it's very important for their social life around there too. It's also like a focal point for the health of that community is also a focal point for the rail trail there, and although it's down on sort of economic activity quite at the moment, like it's lost its cafe and things, but no doubt that'll pick up in time. I also note that in the past there's been great rivalry and identity with those towns, like from the Smythesdale mural, and talking to the Wadi Yallock historical people there, there used to be a great rivalry between Scarsdale and Smythesdale, which is kind of inconceivable now. But Linton, just to point out that Linton people have their own very set identity, and it seems to be, apart from the sporting activities, it's also that community hub is working really well for the people there. It's quite important to them, so I thank them for their petition.
Thank you very much. Councillor Sharkey, would you like to close? Sorry. Thank you very much. I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you very much. Urgent business none. There are confidential items for consideration tonight. These items are considered confidential as defined in Section 3 of the Local Government Act. Can I please have a councillor to move the recommendation to move into closed session? Councillor Whitfield. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Kirby. I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? Thank you. I will now ask members of the gallery to leave the meeting so the meeting can consider